come on this show? Because I love the show.
It's not a lot lately.
But why are we talking about Joe like I'm surprised? You surprised he's bad?
I'm not surprised.
He's only been good for like a year or two in his whole career, for real.
Shady won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl.
And
put some respect on his name, please.
I'm just being honest, bro. I'm just being honest. I never thought Joe Flacco was a superstar type quarterback.
12.
He had one great
11
postseason.
touchdowns, no interceptions, en route to winning a Super Bowl.
He had no great years, but he had that postseason. He was like, oh, wow, it's pretty good. But like now, he's never, like, it's Joe Flacco we talking about.
What you want him to do? Go to Dylan Gabriel? That's the backup.
You know they should go to.
That's the backup.
On a serious note, I would love for Shedeur to play, but I'm okay with playing a younger quarterback. If it's Dylan Gabriel, I'm okay with that. Like, let's see what the future has for us. There's no future with Joe. There's no presence with Joe. Joe bad. He was terrible last year. Last year they bitch. What's the young quarterback from the Colts?
Talking about
young quarterback.
Anthony Richardson?
Richardson.
Yeah.
And then Joe got in there and he was god awful.
He was bad.
Joe Flacco, a name that once carried weight, a man who lifted the Lombardi Trophy as a Super Bowl champion. But in 2025, he looks like a shadow of that player. And let's be real, there's no polite way to frame it. The SpeakEasy crew didn't sugarcoat a thing. They called it exactly how the fans see it. Joe Flacco looks flat out awful in Cleveland. And honestly, are you shocked? Should anyone be surprised? This isn't the version of Flacco who caught lightning in a bottle during that magical playoff run with the Ravens. This is the older, slower, battered version who's been drifting from team to team like a journeyman clinging to a career that's already ended in everything but name. The panel posed the question out loud. Why do we keep pretending this man still has fuel in the tank? Why should Browns fans be forced to believe there's one last miracle hidden in him? The truth is, Flacco has been mediocre far more often than he's ever been elite. And now, Cleveland is staring at the same nightmare so many other franchises endured when they tried to revive what was already gone. But here's where it turns messy. Because the show didn't stop at clowning Flacco. No, the moment they buried him, the conversation pivoted. The focus wasn't really about Flacco at all, it was about who replaces him. And that's where things explode into controversy. Is it Dylan Gabriel, the rookie who built a reputation as steady, disciplined, maybe even reliable? Or is it Shedeur Sanders, the polarizing, larger-than-life prospect who carries both a famous name and a mountain of expectation? This is the heart of the storm. Cleveland isn't just wrestling with a quarterback problem, they're fighting through an identity crisis. Let's rewind for a second, because the receipts are out there. Just last year, when Flacco stumbled through his stint in Indianapolis, fans suddenly started seeing Anthony Richardson in a new light. Richardson, still raw and inconsistent, suddenly felt like a savior, because Flacco looked that bad. Think about that for a moment. Richardson didn't even need to improve. Flacco's collapse made him look better by comparison. And now in Cleveland, fans are stuck asking the same tired question: how long do we sit through this? How many more Sundays do we waste on a veteran who's clearly finished, while the future sits untouched on the bench? The SpeakEasy panel went hard. They said flat out Flacco doesn't deserve 1 or 2 more games. They argued he's done. Period. The Browns need to move forward. But that opens up the next battle. Forward to who? Is Gabriel really the guy? The so-called safe pick? Or is it Shedeur Sanders, the kid who's never been safe, never been quiet, and never been willing to play by the league's old rules? Let's make it personal. If you were the Browns coach right now, who are you handing the ball to? Gabriel with his promise of stability? Or Shedeur, the untested wild card who might either electrify the league or crash in flames? And this is where the story takes a sharp twist. Because buried in the noise is a wild nugget of news. The Baltimore Ravens reportedly wanted Shedeur Sanders. They were ready to grab him in the 5th round of the draft. Imagine that, Shedeur sitting behind Lamar Jackson, learning quietly, waiting for a chance that might never come. But Shedeur said no. He turned them down. That alone tells you everything you need to know about who Shedeur is. Some people instantly labeled him arrogant, spoiled, out of touch. Others? They respected it. Because at its core, his decision was about refusing to be a career backup. Refusing to waste years as a safety net for someone else's franchise quarterback. This is what happens when you're raised by Shedeur Sanders. You grow up believing the stage is yours. You grow up refusing to accept being an extra in someone else's story. Shedeur isn't here to hold a clipboard. He's here to hold a city. Now, let's keep it balanced. Because the panel made a valid point. Most quarterbacks taken outside the first couple of rounds spend their first years as backups. They sit, they wait, they develop. That's the traditional way. That's the pay your dues path the NFL has always expected rookies to follow. But Shedeur? He doesn't care about tradition. He doesn't want the old way. He wants his way. And oddly enough, Cleveland might be the perfect storm for that ambition. The stars have aligned almost too perfectly. Flacco is over the hill. Gabriel, though talented, hasn't proven a thing in the pros. And the fan base? They're starving for a savior. This is exactly the kind of environment where a bold, fearless move can change everything overnight. So let me throw this back at you. Did Shedeur make the right call by turning down Baltimore? Did he actually play it smart, knowing he'd never get the field behind Lamar Jackson? Or was it reckless? Should he have swallowed his pride, learned behind a superstar, and bided his time? Because make no mistake, the answer to that question may define the future of the Browns franchise.
I agree with. There's no path to play in Baltimore. There's no path to play in Baltimore. The examples you listed. We're talking about Drew Bledsoe. We're talking about Dak Prescott. They got in because of injury. And I'm sorry, for as talented as Drew Bledsoe might have been in the first $100 million quarterback, he's not Lamar Jackson. Tony Romo's on the tail end of his career. He's not Lamar Jackson. Like I said yesterday, Lamar Jackson's arm could fall off. They would try to heal that sucker and put him back out there on the field before they put anyone else on. I'm sorry, like he's different. And I do agree. I think he is in a better position. Right now, you got Joe Flacco, who's playing like garbage, and you got Dillon Gabriel, who might play like garbage ahead of you, and then I have to go to you. Lamar Jackson, barring injury, you weren't even sure you were going to be in that position. Maybe you were in the same position where you're sitting behind their backup as well. I think there's a way better path for him to play in Cleveland. Cleveland, yes, it sucks. You're playing for the Browns. Every quarterback that got drafted to the Browns, I'm sorry, they stink. But he's going to play much quicker than he would have been in Baltimore.
But are you better? See, I think we're being too short-sighted, though. I think we're looking through the peephole, not opening up the door. I think we're being too short-sighted. Are you better off going to a Ravens organization? Lamar, he gets injured more often than not. Not that I want him to get injured, but he misses time game to game today, right? Tyler Huntley has gotten some snaps behind Lamar Jackson, along with a couple other.
And here's where the discussion hit another level. The panel couldn't agree. Half of them thought Shedeur was out of his mind to turn away the Ravens. The other half applauded him for grabbing his own destiny with both hands. And then one truth came crashing down. Cleveland has never produced a legendary quarterback. Think about that. All those decades, all that heartbreak, and the one position they've never been able to get right is the most important one. Baker Mayfield had a spark, sure, but it fizzled. Every single quarterback who's put on that uniform eventually crumbled under the weight of history. So what's Shedeur really walking into here? A golden opportunity or a graveyard for his career? This is the high-stakes drama in Cleveland right now. Because yes, Baltimore is steady. Yes, Lamar is an MVP-level star. But Shedeur would have been invisible there. Buried. Forgotten. But in Cleveland? All it takes is one more stinker from Flacco, or one jittery outing from Gabriel, and the chance will start. You'll hear it echoing through the dog pound, "We want Shedeur. We want Shedeur." And once that chant begins, it doesn't stop. Coaches hear it. Players hear it. Ownership hears it. That's the power of timing. That's the storm Shedeur has positioned himself for. The SpeakEasy panel hammered this point home. For some of them, Shedeur was right where he needed to be. Cleveland gave him a real shot, a real stage. For others, it was reckless. They argued he should have humbled himself, gone to Baltimore, and taken the slow, methodical path to the league. But again, that's where Shedeur separates himself from the pack. He doesn't think like yesterday's quarterbacks. He thinks like today's new wave of players who don't sit back and wait for opportunities to fall into their laps. They create them. Look at Micah Parsons. Look at Jamar Chase. Look at Travis Hunter. These guys made bold choices to shape their own futures, and Shedeur fits that mold perfectly. He isn't going to let a franchise dictate his story. He's going to write it himself. And that's what brings us back to the fire burning in Cleveland right now. Because this isn't just about X's and O's. This is about identity. This is about a franchise standing at a crossroads. Do the Browns lean into stability and play it safe with Gabriel? Or do they light the match, hand Shedeur the keys, and embrace chaos in the hopes of rewriting history? Right now, that identity looks unstable, fragile. Joe Flacco? He's nothing but a relic, a reminder of past glory long faded. Dylan Gabriel? He's steady, yes, but steady has never been enough to carry a cursed franchise. And Shedeur Sanders? He's the wild card. He's the player who can flip the narrative in one press conference, one highlight reel, one gutsy fourth-quarter throw. Think back to Baker Mayfield's arrival in Cleveland. He came in brash, fiery, confident. He brought a jolt of electricity that gave fans something they hadn't felt in years, belief. For a while it worked. But when it all collapsed, it collapsed spectacularly. And yet, fans still remember those early sparks, that feeling of finally matching. Now picture Shedeur stepping into that same role, only with a massive advantage that Baker never had, Deion Sanders. Primetime himself. Never underestimate the power of that connection. Deion turned Colorado from a forgotten program into the center of the college football universe. He didn't just win games, he created a movement. He turned cameras, headlines, and conversations into a tidal wave that forced people to pay attention whether they wanted to or not. Imagine that machine rolling into Cleveland. Imagine Shedeur walking into the huddle with Deion standing on the sideline, every lens pointed his way, every microphone hanging on his words. That's not just a quarterback change, that's a franchise being reborn. If the Browns take the leap and put Shedeur on that field, they're not just starting a rookie, they're starting a revolution. Of course, critics are circling. They say he isn't ready. They say Cleveland's offensive line is shaky, that the franchise has a track record of eating quarterbacks alive. And sure, history proves them right. Cleveland has derailed more careers than we can count. But here's the truth they don't want to admit. Shedeur Sanders has been ready for this moment longer than most. He's lived in a spotlight since he was a kid. Every throw he's ever made has been scrutinized. Every mistake magnified. By the time most rookies experience that kind of pressure, they're already in year 3 of their NFL careers. Shedeur? He's been living under that microscope his whole life. So when someone asks me, is he ready? I can't help but laugh. Ready? He's more prepared than half the veterans who will take snaps this season. But Cleveland can't avoid the decision forever. They have to choose. Do they play it cautious with Gabriel, hoping to minimize mistakes? Or do they embrace the chaos, embrace the noise, and hand the keys to a Sanders? And here's the part that nobody wants to say out loud. If Gabriel starts, the countdown begins. Because every incomplete pass, every missed opportunity, every turnover is just another reason for the dog pound to erupt. And once that chant begins, we want Shedeur. The coaching staff won't be able to resist it. The pressure will drown out everything else. Now let's talk about the narrative around Shedeur himself. Some critics have painted him as entitled for rejecting Baltimore. They say he should have been thankful just to get drafted. That he should have taken the humble path, sitting quietly behind Lamar, absorbing knowledge, paying dues. But let's flip that. How many quarterbacks have we seen vanish into irrelevance because they never got their chance? How many talented guys wasted away holding clipboards for half a decade until the league forgot their names? Shedeur saw that trap and refused to walk into it. He made a decision that wasn't just about ego, it was about business, about legacy. It was about prime DNA. He said, I'm not here to wait. I'm here to play. And honestly, that's the mentality that separates stars from placeholders. Old school fans will call it arrogance. They'll hate it. They'll say he's disrespecting the process. But in today's NFL, arrogance often looks exactly like destiny. Of course, this path comes with risk. If Cleveland hands him the starting job too soon and he fails, the critics will swarm. They'll call him overhyped. They'll point to Baltimore and say he should have learned behind Lamar. They'll say he wasn't ready, that he crumbled under the pressure. But here's the other side. What if he succeeds? What if he walks onto that field, lights up defenses, and shows the world that he's more than just a name? Then Cleveland instantly becomes the epicenter of the NFL. Suddenly, The Browns aren't the league's running joke, they're the future. That's the gamble. That's why this debate feels so much bigger than football. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just another prospect. He's a story. He's a brand. He's a symbol of this new generation of athletes who refuse to wait in line. So let me turn the question to you, would you risk it? Would you throw him out there now, let him take the hits, and see if he can be the spark Cleveland has been chasing for decades? Or do you protect him, let Gabriel be the placeholder, and wait until the storm dies down? Because make no mistake, the storm is already here. Joe Flacco can't hold it off. Dylan Gabriel can't hold it off. The chants are coming. The pressure is coming. And when it finally boils over, Shedeur Sanders will step onto that field, and the NFL will never see Cleveland the same way again. So here's where I land. Joe Flacco's time is over. Dylan Gabriel might get a shot, but he's not the long-term answer. The real answer, the one that could transform this franchise, is Shedeur Sanders. Yes, he's bold. Yes, he's brash. But sometimes, that's exactly what it takes to rewrite a losing culture. The Browns can either play it safe or they can play it prime. So I'll leave you with this. Are we on the verge of Shedeur time in Cleveland? Or will the Browns do what they've always done, stall the future, cling to mediocrity, and regret it for years to come? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Dog Pound, I want to hear from you. Shedeur fans, I want to hear from you. And for everyone out there who still thinks Cleveland is doomed to fail, I want to know if you believe this kid can finally break the curse. Because one thing is certain, Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting for permission. He's not waiting for the league to decide when he's ready. He's coming. And when he does, the NFL will never look at Cleveland the same way again. Like this video if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe to Whistle Storm for more of the NFL's most dramatic stories and updates.